Hello there. Russia's pseudo-referendums in Ukraine end today. After that, an annexation is expected, and media specify what could happen then. On September 27th, the mock voting in 4 Russian-held areas of Ukraine will come to an end. That's today. And according to the Kremlin's plan, Donetsk, Luhansk, Cherson, and Zaporizhia could be annexed to Russia in the same week. A step that has been heavily criticized internationally. For the days after the referendums, the Russian media have now published a very concrete possible timetable. Accordingly, the next step of the Kremlin are as follows. As I said, the results of the mock referendums are to be announced on Tuesday, September 27th, so today. And tomorrow, on September 28th, Russia's borders could be closed and bills on reintegrating the occupied territories of Ukraine into Russia could be debated in the State Duma. A day later, on September 29th, the affiliation could be declared by the Russian Federation Council, that is, passed, that's the upper house of the Russian parliament will pass it then. On September 30th, Putin is expected to make an official speech and sign the annexation. The independent online portals Meduza and Verstka, as well as the state news agencies RIA Novosti and TASS, report on the entire process, and they cite parliamentary sources. According to Russia experts, the process, if it goes through several instances, gives the annexation the greatest possible semblance of legitimacy. First, the supposed will of the people is queried in the referendums, and finally, as many institutions as possible are involved in order to implement this popular wish. This is intended to refute the accusation that President Putin is making decisions as the sole ruler. According to political scientist Fabian Burkhardt from Germany, the current annexation could also pass the Russian Constitutional Court, as he said in an interview with T-Online. Well, the possible border closure on September 28th, as envisaged in the alleged plan, relates to the ongoing war mobilization in Russia. The independent Russian portal Verstka writes that there is a discussion about whether an exit ban for conscriptmen will be announced before the president's speech. The background is that the authorities assessed the stream of men leaving the country as alarming. The plan will be discussed by the president and representatives of parliament and the government at the beginning of the week in order to make a final decision. That's what Verstka said. If so, the process would be similar to what happened in 2014 when the Kremlin annexed Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula. At that time, too, there was initially a highly controversial so-called referendum, which, like now, was partly carried out under duress. Then followed several steps in which Parliament was feigned to be involved, and finally the incorporation was formally confirmed by President Putin. He is also expected to come close to Putin's speech of annexation in 2014, when he addressed State Duma deputies and senators in the Kremlin's St. George's Hall and discussed the results of those referendum held and then signed an agreement for annexation. Verstka writes that it's also possible that Putin will be elected to the State Duma. The annexation of Ukrainian territory is euphemistically called reintegration by Russia. Russia historically claims that Ukraine is Russian territory and denies the country and the elected president their right to exist. To date, only a few states, including Russia, have recognized the incorporation of Crimea, Belarus and stuff like that. Internationally, the current attempt at annexation is also being sharply condemned and viewed as a breach of international law. In contrast to 2014, there are not even OSCE election observers on site to monitor the voting. They know what's going to happen anyway. And going with the historic part, that is a really dangerous part, I'm just saying. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.